Hi beauties, it's your girl ExBlackrose, and on today's video I'm going to be doing my first makeup and stories. I had to make this memorable for myself because I don't really talk about my personal life that often on here. So this first video is something that means a lot to me because it's the story about how I became a teenage mother. I don't know if you guys know already, but I became a mother at 16 years old with a beautiful baby girl, and things weren't always easy. So let's get this started. How do I start off? Let's start with how I found out what was the conversation between me and her father. First of all, I had never been pregnant before. Of course, I was very young, but a woman will always know her body. And I remember having these weird cramps. And I was like, this don't feel like any cramps that I've ever had before. So I told her dad, I'm like, you know, something just doesn't feel right. And he's like, what's the matter? What you mean something doesn't feel right? I'm like, yeah, I think I might be pregnant. And he was like, and I'm like, yeah, I think I might be pregnant. And he was like, okay, well, I'll get a test and, you know, you'll take it and we'll see what's going on. I go to the bathroom. I took it and he was waiting. He wasn't in the bathroom with me. And it said positive. And I was like, like everyone's reaction when they get pregnant. Because even though you know you could get pregnant, you don't think you could get pregnant. Like at that age, of course, you know that that's how you get pregnant. But you're thinking, you know, I don't think that could happen to me, you know. I come out the bathroom and I'm like, he's looking at me like, what does it say? And I'm like, yeah, it says it's positive. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, let me be sure. So I looked at the paper and it said faint line and all that. And he's like, I would never forget. I said, what are we going to do? This is all he did. This is him. And this is me. What are we going to do? And he's lost for words. And I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, we're in a panic. Like, we don't know what we're going to do. So anyway, you know, some time went on. And of course, we thought of the possibility of having an abortion. But you can't get an abortion without money. And you can't get an abortion without your parents knowing. Like, we didn't know what to do. This just what goes through your mind. And I'm like, no, I don't really believe in it. At the time, I didn't believe in that type of thing. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I should just have the baby and run away. Can we run away? And I'm like, well, we can't run away with no money. So time went on and time went on. And I started throwing up. And I'm like, okay, they're going to know. My parents are going to know. So my parents being my parents, they were older. They had me late in life. So I don't think they pretty much was thinking like that, you know. So I started throwing up stupid stuff. Like the first time I threw up, it was water. Didn't know you could throw up water. And then I started throwing up things like orange juice, apple juice. Juices were making me throw up. Hydration was making me sick. And I'm like, they're gonna know. They're not gonna know. No one's gonna know. You know, like that. But no, they didn't know, and I thought they would know, but they didn't. So then we was at church one Saturday. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, so we go to church on the Sabbath, which is Saturday. So we're at church, and my grandmother, I feel like just like you have one strict parent and one lenient parent, I feel like it's the same thing with grandmothers. You have that one strict grandmother, and you have that one cool grandmother. So we went to church, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. Like at that point, it was getting harder and harder to like disguise. And I was just like, oh, I don't feel good. My mom's like, oh, Dolores, she's been having so many problems with her stomach. I feel so bad. Like at 30, I feel so bad that like my mom, well, I always had problems with my stomach. Let's be real. From the time when I was a little bitty girl, I always had stomach problems. To this day, I still deal with stomach issues for no reason. So she's like, her stomach has just been bothering and I just don't know. So I'm just like trying to suffer through the pain, you know. My grandmother, I feel like she was on game. She was like, Lisha, you need to put that girl on some birth control. This was me. So she's like, yeah, because I think she just told my mama this, but I think she was like thinking that that's possible to, like, maybe me being sexually active had something to do with my having cramps or something. But she told her put me on birth control. But how she said it was not like, oh, because it's going to help with her cramps. Because that's what she told her. But the way she said it was like, you need to put that little thing on birth control. So my mom was like, oh, okay. So I didn't think my mom was going to listen, because my mom was just like, you know, okay, whatever. So some more time goes on. And one day my mom comes to me and says, I'm ordering you some pills and you're going to take them every day. And I said, what kind of pills? And she was like, don't worry about it. Just know you're going to take them every day. And I said, oh, shit. I got to tell her I'm pregnant before she killed my baby with birth control pills. Because she didn't want to tell me. I mean, like, why would you not want to tell me what it is? Unless you're trying to, like, put me on something, you know. I called my baby dad. I'm like, we got to tell him. I don't know how we're going to tell him, but we got to tell him. He was like, well, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? I was like, I think she's trying to put me on birth control. And he was like, oh, well, how we going to do this? And I was like, I feel like it's going to be easier for you than me, because his mama was cool. Rest in peace. Even, like, when we broke up, me and her was always cool, like this. So he was like, yeah, I want to tell my mom. She probably going to want to kill me, you know. Because my brother had a son at 16, and, you know, it broke her heart. So I'm just like, oh, my God, like, this is going to be the worst thing ever. So leading up to that point of me telling them, I started getting sicker, because the stress of it was like killing me. I had a nervous breakdown, and my daughter doesn't know this, and I'm going to try not to cry. And one day my dad left his gun on the table, and I picked it up. And I was like, I should just end it right now, because the consequence of what I'm going to have to go through is going to be worse than death. So might as well just do it. And God obviously was with me, because I didn't. But not too long after that, I had a breakdown, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried. Mind you, it was a lot going on. It was the stress of me telling them that I was pregnant, and then this happened right after Hurricane Katrina. Everyone that I ever grew up with, ever loved, my family, everyone was gone. Like, everyone was gone. And I felt so lost. Then I was at a school with people I did not know. So I felt more alone than usual. It was a combination of all those things, because I had no one to lean on, like my friends or my close cousins. So it was very difficult for me. So I had a breakdown. I cried for hours and hours and hours. And then I told my dad I don't think he loved me. And it was emotions of all the stuff I felt my whole life that I never got to say. So it was just a lot. Let's fast forward past that stuff. My sister, she's like a second mother to me. She helped raise me. She helped take care of me. She was like a grandmother to my kids. I know you're not a grandmother, sister, but I'm just saying. So she came down. They left because of Katrina. You know, she lost her home. And they came down to visit. And I was like, you know what? I could talk to her about anything. This is like my second mother. I am going to talk to her. I'm going to tell her, because I will call her almost every day and talk to her, because I missed her so much. And I was used to being with my sister damnly every day. Her home was my second home. I went through a lot. I was depressed, and, you know, she was in town. I said, here's my chance. I waited till we was at my other sister's house, and everybody was there, and I brought her in the room, and it was just me and her, and my other sister, and my parents were in the living room doing whatever they were doing. And I told her, and she was like, oh my God, you are lying. You are lying. And I'm like, I wish I was lying. Was that a Cash App? Y'all heard that? But anyway, I was like, I wish I was lying, but this is real. I said, I need you to tell mom and daddy, because I can't do it. And she was like, she was like, okay. We talked for a while, and she asked me questions about the father, and did he stop talking to you? You know, little boys, they'll say it's not theirs, they'll run away. I was like, no, he's not like that. He loves me. You know how we always think we're in love when we young like that. He loves me, and I love him. And she was like, all right. you know? So then we went into another room. I don't know why we were jumping from room to room to room to room. But then we went to another room and she called my mom in there. And she's like, I need you to stay calm. That's what she's telling my mom. And she's like, what's going on? And my mom's looking at me like, what is going on? You know? My sister's like, Mom, I need you to stay calm. You know, I hope you love her. I hope this doesn't change anything. You know, just trying to talk her down. You know what I mean? And Mom like, oh, girl, what's going on? So my sister's like, well, Ajeen is pregnant. And my mom was like, I'm not even looking at her. I'm looking at her, but I'm not looking at her. I'm like, and I was like, you got to be joking. And my sister's like, y'all see I'm trying to get, like, I'm getting teary-eyed. My eyes are turning red. And I'm like, no, Mom, she's not. So I'm like, Mom, it's true. Please don't kill me. She say, I want to. like I'm laughing because, y'all, my mama is hilarious. I get a lot of my humor from her, and she gets it from my grandmother. So she's like, I want to. And I'm just like, oh, shit. Today's going to be the day. She's just, like, in disbelief. Like, she just basically standing there, like, trying to put 1 + 1 together. After my sister talked to her, she was just like, well, you know, I'm going to just say this. You keeping it. That's what she said. You're keeping it. She said, you're not giving up for adoption, and you're not getting an abortion. Because I don't want to say this without putting other people's business out, but previously I had a niece, which is her grandchild, going to foster care. And she tried her best to get the child. Her best. But the state that she lived in, laws were so strict, they didn't want to release her to someone in Louisiana. So, I mean, broke her heart because she wanted to raise her because my sister wasn't able to do that. And we lost her to the system. So I was like, that ain't happening. So I'm like, okay, you're getting somewhere, you know? My mom's like, well, you got to tell your daddy. Mind you, my daddy is still in the living room. You know what's crazy? I remember a lot of stuff like it was yesterday with this story. But the conversation with my daddy, I do not remember. So I'm looking at my sister. I'm like, do you think? Because I'm not going in there. Her and my mom goes into the living room. I close the door and lock it. And they were in there for a good 20 minutes. I don't know how she broke it to him. To this day, I don't know how she broke it to him because I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I was scared to go home. And I went in the living room. My daddy asked me a couple questions. I answered them. Don't ask me what he asked me because it's all pretty much a blur. So I pretty much stayed at my sister's house for some days until my daddy forced me to come home. I didn't want to go home. Like, I'm not going there. I'm going to just stay here, you know. And they eventually made me come home. So my dad's like, well, I need to meet this little boy, basically. So then we went to the sit down. That didn't go as good as I feel like it should have went. But I mean, it was a horrible circumstance. So I mean, I don't know how I expected it to go, but my daddy's I don't even know how to say it, but he's very strict and he always wanted a certain life for his kids. And, you know, that's just not how it happens sometimes. You want this for your kids, and you give them this and you give them that. Or you feel like that's what you're doing. And then they don't turn out the way you expect. Which I'm going through that right now with my kids. And not that nothing is wrong with them. It's just like you don't expect for certain situations to happen. And when they happen, you don't know how to deal with them. So anyway, we met with my baby daddy and his mom. And she was a single mother, so I didn't meet his dad. They talked and they talked and they talked. And I think because she was a single mother, she didn't, you know, They didn't have much. She took care of her son, you know. He was always in drip, you know. But they lived a different life than what we lived. So the first thing your parents are thinking is like, they didn't have to say it, but I'm sure my dad was thinking that I threw my life away, you know. Disclaimer, I just want to say he turned out to be an amazing person. Me and him do butt heads, but this man makes almost 6 figures. He turned out just fine. But when you're 16, you got a hood dude and da-da-da-da, and you just like, you just have to, you know, prove yourself at that point in time. So anyway, his mom loved me. She didn't have nothing against me. She just was like, you gonna take care of your baby. She was on him. She wasn't that type of mother to be like, well, you sure it's yours? And you ain't bringing no baby. Like, she was not like that. She was like, well, you and the little girl always running off. I'm not surprised. That was what she said. And you're gonna get a job. You're gonna do what you gotta do. Period. You know, unlike those raggedy moms I see on Maury, I don't believe that my son. She didn't play that. Even at 16, 17, she didn't play that. So after that, like, you could feel the tension in my house. Like, my dad was not happy. My mom, of course, she wasn't happy about it, but she was taking it a little bit better than my dad, how he took it. And I mean, you know, everybody deal with everything differently. And I'm not sure if, you know, if he wanted me to give her up for adoption or what, because he really didn't want me to throw my life away. But the type of person I am, and anybody who knows me, I hate when people say that, because everybody always say anybody who knows me. But like, seriously, if you know me, you know I'm a very, 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 very independent person. I don't depend on a man for nothing, my parents for nothing. So I felt at that point in time, I had something to prove. Because I had to prove to them that I could do this. Like, I got this. My sister offered to adopt her, and the answer was no. Because I said, I laid down and made her, I'm going to take care of her. So my mom would have, you know, they would have been okay with that, because that's family. But I grew up seeing a lot of, I'm not bashing anyone or, you know, saying something is wrong for the way that they did things. But I grew up seeing a lot of girls have their parents take care of their child while they went off to college, lived their life, did what they had to do. The parents pretty much raised them children as if those were those, you know, grandparents' children. And I just didn't want that, because of the way I looked at them for that. I was like, ain't nobody gonna look at me like that. Like, I don't want nobody to say, oh, she ain't got pregnant, she got her parents take care of, she shouldn't have had no baby young, you know, because people gonna say what they say. And even though I shouldn't have been worried about what nobody say, I just wanted to prove that I could do this. I got this. I'm gonna do the best I can and take care of my child. Just to touch on a little bit of the life I lived after her. I had her February 15th, 2007. And it was a hard labor. This is going to be part 1. I'm going to do a part 2 and 3. So we're going to touch base on that later. But just to tell you a little bit of, like, the struggles of being a single mom. You know, I went to school, high school. I graduated with a 3.2 average on honor roll. I worked while I was in school. I worked at McDonald's. I paid for my child to go to daycare. Me and her daddy, 1 week he would pay, next week I would pay. We would alternate weeks. I never asked my parents for $1. The only time they ever bought anything for my daughter with me asking was they bought milk for her one time. And I paid them back. Because like I said, I had something to prove. I'm going to take care of my baby. I used to be so tired. But you know, I did it. And I'm glad I did, because it molded me to be the person that I am today. You know, her father never ran off. You know, he was there to support me. You know, we had our issues or whatever like that. But, you know, it was hard. It wasn't easy. I didn't think it would be easy. But I got through it. And I'm glad that she's here. I really am. I didn't expect to have a child that young, but I did. Okay, so let's bring it back. So, my first visit to the doctor, I cried like a baby. I cried like a baby. Pap smears hurt. I'm sorry. I just honestly believe the doctor that I had probably felt like, you know what? She want to get pregnant this early. I'm going to show her how I really feel. At the time, I didn't know that when you get a pap smear, they put those forceps or whatever you call those things in you, but there's different sizes. That man used the biggest size he had. I was a child. I was 16. I felt like I was being tortured. And to this day, my mom was like, she wished she would have sued him, because what I went through in labor is something that no one should ever go through. It was the worst experience of my life. That labor was horrible. I dealt with traumatic things that happened after that. I had multiple surgeries. Like, it was the worst labor I've ever went through in my life. And I had 3 kids. And although the last one was pretty tough, that one is like, takes the cake. That's going to be on one of the parts, either 2 or 3, whichever one. So anyway, first thing to the doctor, he put that big thing in me. I cried and cried. And although I knew my mom was disappointed in the choice that I made, she held me. And he said, take your time. Oh, dirty bastard. Take your time. So anyway, my mom held me. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, I know. And it was pretty traumatizing. So then my mom had a sister. Rest in peace to my Auntie Edie. I love her. She was like my favorite aunt in the whole wide world. She was there for me a lot because, like I said, I was going through a lot, you know, with the whole situation and, you know, my parents. To this day, I've never had the conversation with my daddy, and I hope he doesn't get upset. I told him I don't want them to watch none of my stories, but I've never had the conversation with him, so I don't know exactly what he felt or what was the actual situation. But from the few conversations I've had with my aunt, I overheard my mom talking and my sisters, it almost was like either he wanted me to get rid of her or to give her away. And my aunt was under the impression that he just wanted me to just completely get rid of her. She understood what I was going through. She had her first child at 16. She was married at 16 or 17. So she was trying to be there for me the best way she could, because she been through that. My mom didn't have a baby till she was married in 20 something. I mean, her and my mom have conversations. So my auntie was like, I'm coming down there. I'm coming down there and I'm going to talk to him. And I'm going to go to that little girl. I'm going to go with her to the doctor. She held my hand. My first ultrasound. She was there with me. She held my hand. She held my hand through the whole process. And she said, how do you feel? Like, she would ask me, how do I feel? And I looked at the ultrasound and I saw the little baby bouncing. And I ended up being 10 weeks. Those 10 weeks felt like an eternity because I suffered. Like I said, I was trying to hide that I was pregnant. And I used to get sick all the time. So 10 weeks, I'm like, that's all I am is 10 weeks? Because it feels like 10 months at this point. So, she was there with me, so she was asking the doctor questions about, you know, she's too far to get an abortion, isn't she? And I'm like, what's going on? You know, so there was something that I didn't know. He was like, well, at this point, it hasn't heartbeat, so I wouldn't think that's, you know, the best thing to do because the baby has a heartbeat. And they gave me this little plastic baby. It had to be about this size. And he said, this is the size of your baby. And I'm like, that's it? So he's like, yep, that's the size of your baby. So, you know, she cried. I was just like, oh my God, I'm holding my belly because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I didn't want to have a baby. I didn't expect to get pregnant. But when you actually have it in your body, you feel totally different. Then when you see it on ultrasound, you're like, oh, I'm really pregnant. I'm pregnant. You know, she was with me every step of the way. She checked on me. She made sure I was okay. Once we left the appointment, she went sat down with my daddy and had me sitting there. She talked to him. She told him how she felt. And don't get me wrong, my dad loves my children. He loves them. My daughter was born. He loved her. I took pictures of them in the bed sleeping, she will go sneak back there and she'll come out crunching all the time. We're like, what is she eating? Then we eat snacks together. So he loved her. But you know, I understand because I'm a parent. And sometimes when your children make decisions, it's hard at first. But eventually you learn how to deal with them. And you learn to forgive and move past. So I just want to say that. And then let's talk about the church. No one that wasn't family ever said anything rude to me or anything like that. But I'm sure they were talking. I'm more than sure they were, because that's just what church people do. They want you to come to church and, you know, get yourself together and turn your life around. But in actuality, church people talk the most crap. I must say, no one ever said anything hurtful or disrespectful to my face that I know of. When I had my baby shower, they supplied me with so many things to where when I had her, there was very few things that I needed. Like they really did come through. But you know how church people are. You know what you've heard, you know, them say about other people. So you know that someone else said something. But like I said, I never got that from anyone. But let's talk about family. I love them. I'm not talking about my sisters, my mama, my dad. I'm talking about other family members that I had. Always would make jokes about it. I think that's just how they deal with things. They make jokes and think that things are funny, but they were very hurtful, the things that they said. And the crazy thing is, when you have a baby that young, you're going to lose friends, and you're going to have parents that feel some type of way about their kids being around you, you know, stuff like that. But the crazy thing is, everybody was screwing. It wasn't just me. As a child, you can't go off on our dog and say, yeah, your dog is screwing too. You can't do that, because then your mom's going to be like, oh, wow, what you say? Like, you can't be disrespectful. Okay? And then they're your friends. They're people you know. Everybody was doing it. I was just a dummy. Well, not dummy, but I'm just saying, like, I was just the one that got caught up, you know? I got caught up. So, I mean, it comes with the territory of having a baby young. People are going to say not too nice things to you. And that's just what it is. And it took me a long time to get to the point of not caring what no one thinks. Because everybody has skeletons. Everybody just could see mine, you know? I was asked, why did you go out there and have sex? Like, you know, you can get pregnant. And, you know, I gave my mom a couple reasons. Number one, Mom, I'm used to catching the bus, going places with my friends. I'm used to hanging out with them on the weekends. I'm used to being with them almost every day, you know. And then when I started going to this school out here where there's no bus, I don't have any friends. I didn't grow up with these people. This was a small town, a small parish. I didn't grow up with these people. I don't know anybody here. When you go to schools in small towns, everybody knows each other. So imagine going to a school somewhere and you don't know anybody whatsoever. You don't have any friends. It's depressing. They say that's when children get into trouble and they turn to drugs, or they get into like gangs and stuff. It's like when they don't have recreational things to do, like when the city or the town doesn't have anything going on. That's pretty much how I felt. I wasn't allowed to go to parties. I wasn't allowed to hang with people that my parents didn't know, because everybody they knew in New Orleans was gone. So one of the reasons I gave them was, well, I was bored. There's nothing to do here. I'm cooped up in the house all day. Children get into trouble. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I did it, and I just did it, and then everybody else doing it, so I don't know. It was a many different reasons. I mean, I just was doing stuff I had no business doing. So family members would joke about that. Oh, you was bored, huh? Like, it's fucking funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It would never be funny. But you know, I dealt with that. Now that I'm older, I know a lot of people's skeletons, and I'd be like, but you talked about me. But I know your dirty laundry now. But you know, it's okay. It's okay. I'm over it now, because look at me. Y'all thought I was probably going to turn out to nothing, and I turned on to this beautiful butterfly. A little crazy sometimes, but you know, it is what it is. So I pretty much didn't get treated differently at church, which is a good thing. Like I said, stuff with the family, you know, that comes with it. Family gets on each other and laughs, jokes. But then, you know, it came to a problem with school. You go to school with these messy ass kids, because children can be cruel. And I just didn't know how cruel. That's why I would never send my children to private school, because it fails you in the real world. I went to private school my entire life. And then in the Waltons, everybody does not know everybody. Like, you know, it's not as big as other places like Houston and, you know, maybe Chicago. But everybody does not know everybody. So you still going to have some people you know, some people you don't know. Then you at the school where everybody knows everybody. You don't know anybody. And then people start fucking with you. I'm going to just say, they just start fucking with you. And then when you think you're friends with someone, and then they turn out not to be your friend, that's going to be a story for another day. That's going to be a story. Backstabbers is going to be one of my story times. You know, so then I thought this girl was my friend, and she wasn't. Come to find out, she was spreading rumors that weren't true. And I'm just like, no, she wouldn't do that. She's my friend. She wouldn't do that. But you know what, guys? You lose some, you win some. I lost some friends when I got pregnant. And, you know, I thought they were my friends, but they weren't, because friends are going to be in your life regardless. They're not going to start nasty rumors about you and say just evil things. But anyway, I think my hardest time throughout my pregnancy was actually going to school with those people. Those people, that's what I'm going to call them. Those people. Those messy people. When you're in a small town, a small place, they don't have nothing else to do but to be fucking messy. I'm gonna just say it. Be messy. I don't even know you hoes. That's how I feel. Like, then I didn't say it like that, of course, because I didn't talk like that. But now as an adult, I'm like, I didn't even know them hoes. And people just start stuff for no reason. So I think my hardest part of my pregnancy, what made me the most depressed, was school. It's not easy being in 10th grade and pregnant. But I'm glad that, you know, I made it through. I dropped out in 10th grade. A lot of people don't know that. And actually, I didn't even drop out. I was dropped from school because I got sick after I had my daughter from something that the doctor did. And I have to explain that in the next video. I couldn't walk. I couldn't sit. It was the most traumatic experience I ever experienced in my life. So the school dropped me because you're only supposed to be out a certain amount of weeks for extenuating circumstances. And I missed 5 months of school. Ooh, I'm just touching this up a little bit. Every single subject, they failed me. Because it was on 4 block. So the first semester, I passed all my classes. But the next semester, I had to leave in January because I had her in February. And I never came back. So they dropped me because I missed too many days. And I came back my 11th grade year. I had to take 11th grade classes, 10th grade classes. And it was hard. And those grades went on my permanent record. My 12th grade year, guess what? I still had early release because I passed all those classes. And those ratchet, messy, not everybody, but the ones who are messy in school, who always was talking, running their mouth, and was always in other people's business and was bullying people, them hoes ain't even graduate. I'm proud to say that. See, that's what happens. You know how you always have that one girl that talk all that trash. Then you have the quiet one that don't say nothing. And then when she jump on her and beat her ass, everybody wondering, oh, yeah, because God don't like ugly. And I didn't fight nobody. I didn't do any of that. But I will tell you, a lot of those people that were messy in high school, a lot of them did not pass. I came back even though I was dropped. I came back, I graduated at 3.2. That goes to show you, you really can't judge somebody because they had a baby young or because of what you think about them. So we come to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed Makeup with me. And the next video, I probably will go into details about my labor and my experience. You guys don't want to miss that, so stay tuned. Okay, everyone. So in conclusion, this is a lot of this is a lot of lessons I'm spilling on y'all today. You should never bully. You should never make up rumors. You should never be a backstabbing bitch. No, don't. I'm just joking. I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I think since I'm talking about her, she's here now. She just got home from school. I think I should bring her in so that you guys can see my big girl who I had. She is a very strong little girl. Let me tell y'all something about her. She does her schoolwork. You know, for the most part, she does what she's supposed to do. She's a good big sister most of the time. Sometimes I have to get her together though, because she think because she's my size, I'm her friend sometimes. I be like, girl, no, don't play with me. Yana! So I'm gonna bring her in so y'all can see her. Like I said, I love my parents, and a lot of times, like when I just get emotional, sometimes I'll call my mom and say, Mom, I'm so sorry for, you know, having a baby young. I just want to tell you that even to this day, I apologize to her because I want her to know I didn't do it to make you guys mad. Just something that happened. Come here. Could you go take your bonnet off, please, so that you can say hello?
You know who I am.
Okay, but they don't know what y'all I'm talking about, smart mouth.
What child are you talking about?
Take that off. Hold on, y'all. Come on. With your mic and ring. It's so ghetto over here. Come. This is my strong and mighty 14-year-old daughter. This is the one who I carried in my womb when I was 16 years old, and she made me the woman I am today. I still remember when I bought my first car. Well, that was my second car, but it was the first car I actually bought on my own. And I bought it and I was so happy, and she got on my lap and she drove my car around like, we got this. We can do this. Do you remember that?
No, what would I remember that?
You was like 2, I think. And you know, I was just so proud that I was able to buy my own car with my own money. And I felt so independent. Like I said, the reason I am who I am today is because I had this big butterball here. If you made it this far, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you aren't following me on Instagram, my name on Instagram is exquisite_blackrose. And also, shop at my website. I sell hair products. I sell hair butters, growth serums, and all those good things. The link will be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye. Y'all, nobody even told me when I was putting my headband on, I messed up my foundation. The audacity of it all. Still look pretty. I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's so ghetto over here. My earring keeps falling off. I really hope you guys enjoyed this story and my makeup.